Let me ask you, if I may, about someone whose style has often been compared to yours, and I know that you became quite friendly with and knew over a period of years, Elvis Presley. Of course, who's still, you know, an icon, and people still are wondering what he was like and what kind of person he was. When did you first meet him?
1965, when I first came over. I came to Los Angeles to do an Ed Sullivan show, and I was doing a song or they wanted me to do a song for some movie, so I went to Paramount Studios, and Elvis was there. So they said, Elvis is here today, and he'd like to meet you. So, of course, you know.
So he had heard of you?
Yeah. So I was knocked sideways, you know. I mean, it was, and especially then, you see, because he didn't do interviews, nobody was seeing Elvis Presley, you know what I mean? He was only doing movies.
Yeah.
So unless you were a friend of his, nobody saw him. So I went to Paramount, and there he was. So walked into the set, he was filming, and he was doing a film with there was a girl in a mock helicopter. There was this little kid. It was the World's Fair film. It was, and there he was in this thing, and I'm sort of standing there. It was my first year in show business. I mean, professional. Right, 65, and I'm standing there looking at Elvis Presley. So they stop filming. He looks over and he gives me I'm, you know, doing this like, who's he? So they said, he's waving at you, wouldn't you? So it was like very, very exciting to meet this big star, legend.
Had he been an influence on you?
Definitely. I mean, anybody that started singing in the 50s, like I did, Elvis Presley was the one. You know, there was Jerry Lee Lewis and there was Little Richard, but Elvis Presley was the king of rock and roll, you know, and that was it. So meeting him was incredible. So when he walked over towards me, I had a single out called With These Hands, and he was singing it as he was walking towards me. I mean, it was unbelievable. So he said that when he heard What's New Pussycat, he thought I was black, which was strange because I didn't think What's New Pussycat sounded, you know, but he thought that. And It's Not Unusual, What's New Pussycat, With These Hands on one album, and he had them. So it was tremendous. So from 65 then until about a year before he died, we were close. If we would work Vegas together, I was in Hawaii at one time with him. We spent time there at his house. You know, we would jam with the guitars. It was really, really something.
Did he? I mean, what did you make of the scene when you were in there? Because we read about this huge entourage he had and all kinds of weird goings on. What was it actually like to be in with him?
Well, it was he was a natural. Priscilla told me that when I was there, he was more natural, which I liked very much. I thought that was, was very nice. She said, when you're around, he's more natural. There's no bullshit with him. And that's what I saw with him. We talked about drugs early, and he said, "What do you?" And I said, "I don't bother with drugs." And he said, "Well, what do you do to keep sane?" I said, "That's how I keep sane. I don't bother with them. I love to have a drink." And I got to be careful with that. You got to get that in the right perspective. So anytime he ever did anything, he would go into another room.
So you knew it was going on, you weren't party to it, but it was kind of up front. And...
Yeah. So he respected me enough not to sort of do it around me.
I don't want to dwell on it too much, but what was he doing? What kind of drugs? Uppers, downers?
Uppers and downers, and he smoked a lot of pot, I think. That's what people told me. But again, I never saw him do it. But he used to drink sort of bottles of small bottles of water. And he would then pop off and come back again, and then if something would have happened, you know what I mean? So he was getting drunk without
and
drinking.
It wasn't the water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but that was, he really was a basic guy, really, and he loved music.
Yeah.
And it just was a shame that the drugs caught up with him.
What do you think of when you look at younger performers who are considered to be wild on stage, as indeed you were wild at one stage? When you look at, say, Madonna grabbing her crotch and Michael Jackson doing the same thing, do you ever feel that maybe they go too far, or are you happy to see that kind of expression?
It all depends what the song is and what the. I mean, if there's a part in the song that needs it, you know what I mean? If it emphasizes a certain phrase.
Is there a part that ever really demands grabbing your genitals?
Yeah, I think so, but not every other bloody phrase.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not to grab it when you're singing about something else just to do it, unless you've got a bit of an itch, I suppose. But I mean, there's no point in it. But if you're going to do a song where, there's some movement is needed in that area, then fine.
Your show is still one of the most energetic I've seen. I saw it very recently in a gig in London, and you're belting it out, and it's non-stop energy, enthusiasm. There's going to come a time when you can't muster that kind of level of energy. Are you looking to that time? Are you thinking, I'm going to change my act, I'm going to make it more ballad-based, I'm going to slow down, or are you just going to...
I'll keep pushing it until I can't do it anymore. I mean, the movement, at one time I was more frantic on stage. You know, I was leaping all over the bloody
This was when you were known as the hip swinging and the pelvic thrusting.
Yeah, when I first started off, you see. But now I'm concentrating more on the vocals. There's still a lot of movement in it, but the vocal comes first.
Is there a phase where you look at it and you say, that is a definitive Tom Jones performance? That is either on film or just a memory, or is that yet to come?
Well, I think when I was doing it, because I had a TV show, This is Tom Jones.
Which is, I still love that show whenever I get the chance to see you.
Thanks. Well, there's a lot on there that I think there's some great performances.
Day when that man drove away, I was waiting. I crossed the street to her house, and she opened the door. She stood there laughing. I felt a knife in my hand, and she laughed no more.
Let me ask you about this kind of renaissance of interest in Tom Jones, this kind of new wave of popularity, because, as we were saying, you had this huge popularity in the early 60s, which continued throughout. You came over, you conquered America and the rest of the world, you made your base here, you performed for the big stadiums and then kind of the Vegas crowd, and then suddenly you were picked up again by the young crowd.
Yeah.
Now, was this planned on your part? Was this deliberate? Did you kind of engineer this, or are you as surprised as, say, your bald friend who plays with AC/DC to see you back there?
No, what happened was, when I did Kiss, you know, it all came from The Last Resort, really. You know, that's what... I was wanting to do a contemporary record. I was with Polygram at the time, and they had me doing country music, you know, in the early 80s, like from 1980 till 86.
And this was like a 5-album deal you had with them?
Exactly. So it was 5 albums, and there was nothing in the contract to say what kind of albums they wanted. It was just 5 albums over 5 years. So we did a country album, and it was successful. So they kept me there. And I was saying, look, I want to do a contemporary record. I feel I can still do it. And I was doing it on stage, live. I was doing all kinds of stuff. And kids were coming up to the stage and saying, why don't you record this?
Yeah.
You know, you're doing all these cool tunes, and yet you're not recording them. And to try and explain it was difficult. So then when you asked me to do Kiss, you know, what are you doing in the show? And we did it on The Last Resort. Then
it took off.
Kids saw me do it, and
Boys, I don't suppose you know Kiss by Prince, do you, boys?
Yeah, I think we got that one. Yeah.
You're not smoking back there, are you? You notice? No, but they'll be cooking in a minute. Ba-boom. And Tom, you wouldn't do it for us tonight, would you? By any chance?
Yeah,
would you? Boys, take it away.